I guess I was discovered.
Welcome to Ms. Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 things Blonde got factually right and wrong.
Marilyn Monroe only exists on the screen.
For this list, we'll be looking at what's fact and what's fantasy in this adaptation of Joyce Carol Oates' biographical fiction novel about Marilyn Monroe, aka Norma Jean Mortensen. What are your thoughts on Blonde? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. Monroe's father contacted her. Wrong. Although certain details are left out and tweaked, Monroe was raised by her single mother, Gladys Pearl Baker. As her mother's mental health worsened, Monroe was placed in the Los Angeles Orphans' Home.
She literally thought she was invisible. She thought she couldn't be seen because children who are not focused on enough do come to believe they're invisible.
Gladys spent the remainder of her life mostly hospitalized, rarely seeing her daughter. It's also true that Monroe's father wasn't in the picture, but Blonde takes some liberties. As Monroe rises as a star and sex symbol, a man claiming to be her father calls her on the phone. There are no records suggesting Monroe's father ever tried contacting her.
Are you sure? There can't be any mistake.
However, Monroe did make numerous attempts to get in touch with Charles Stanley Gifford, who she believed to be her father. In 2022, DNA evidence confirmed that Monroe was indeed Gifford's daughter.
It was big news for Francine Gifford Deer, the granddaughter of the man we now know was Marilyn's dad. DNA from her actually matched Marilyn's.
Was Marilyn Monroe your aunt?
Yes, Marilyn Monroe was my aunt.
Number 9. Monroe wasn't taken seriously as an actress. Right. Although now the definition of a screen legend, Monroe's talents were largely underappreciated during her life. As depicted in this film, she was often typecast as the dumb blonde stereotype, with the powers that be in Hollywood more fixated on her sex appeal than anything else. While the public and press couldn't get enough of her, sometimes to an uncomfortable extent, people had trouble seeing past the Monroe persona on screen.
I'm not very bright, I guess.
I wouldn't say that. Careless, maybe.
No, just dumb. If I had any brains, I wouldn't be on this crummy train with this crummy girl's band.
Monroe was starving to be taken more seriously as an actress and to expand her horizons. While living in Manhattan, Monroe attended the Actors Studio where she learned method acting from Lee Strasberg, who recognized her untapped potential.
There was a great deal of exactly this kind of feeling. She's a star, how does she come here, and so on, until she got up and she did a scene from Anna Christie. And the quality that she lit up is impossible to describe.
It was also around this time that Monroe got seriously involved with her future husband, Arthur Miller.
A serious, successful playwright, an older man, an intellectual, had all the qualities that she idolized most in men.
Number 8. What Daryl F. Zanuck does to Monroe. Maybe. Blonde has proven divisive due to its graphic nature. A key example is when studio executive Daryl F. Zanuck dramatically assaults Monroe in his office.
Why do they always look like unhappy rabbits?
Because that's what they are. I gotta make him happy.
What we know for sure is that Zanuck wasn't especially ecstatic about Monroe's screen test. Nevertheless, 20th Century Fox granted her a 6-month contract, as Zanuck wanted to keep her out of RKO's grasp. Beyond this, it's hard to say precisely what happened behind closed doors. However, Zanuck was accused of being a sexual predator known for bringing actresses to his office regarding, quote, business, supposedly calling them studio hookers.
Every casting director of every studio used to have a black book. You know what I mean?
Monroe was listed among Zanuck's possible victims. Although Monroe didn't single out Zanuck, she was familiar with the casting couch, which she tried to avoid.
I don't want to make trouble. All I want is a drink.
Number 7. Monroe was difficult on the Some Like It Hot set. Right. Some Like It Hot is Monroe's comedic tour de force, but the production wasn't always a barrel of laughs. In Blonde, Monroe argues with director Billy Wilder, accusing him of perpetuating her dumb blonde image. Monroe then throws her biggest fit while shooting the ice pick scene.
Sugar, you're gonna get yourself into a lot of trouble.
Yeah, you better keep a lookout.
Although liberties might have been taken with some of these outbursts, Monroe reportedly was difficult to work with on the movie. According to co-star Tony Curtis, she struggled to learn her lines, showed up late, and drank a lot.
I can stop anytime I want to, only I don't want to, especially when I'm blue.
We understand.
All the girls drink. It's just that I'm the one that gets caught. Story of my life. I always get the fuzzy end of the lollipop.
Jack Lemmon recalled her driving Curtis and Wilder crazy. Wilder stated, quote, "She may hold up production, but when you finally get her in front of a camera, she has a certain indefinable magic which no other actress in this business has."
I couldn't aspire to anything higher.
Number 6. Monroe's terminated pregnancies. Probably wrong. In addition to miscarrying, Blonde depicts Monroe reluctantly enduring multiple doctor visits to quietly terminate her pregnancies. While Monroe did suffer multiple miscarriages and an ectopic pregnancy, the medical procedure scenes are based more on rumors than facts.
It makes me unhappy to talk about it. It really does.
You know,
She's been gone 20 years.
Yeah.
Mr. Summers.
I know.
I can't bring myself to talk about it.
Author Norman Mailer claims Monroe terminated numerous pregnancies in his 1973 book, Marilyn. He supposedly got this information from Amy Green, wife of celebrity photographer Milton Green.
Well, let's say that she was never a victim, okay? She was a vital young woman who was ready to see and taste the world.
However, Mailer later said that he wrote his novel for money and that some of the accusations were grounded in speculation rather than research. Monroe's autopsy showed no signs that she ever terminated a pregnancy. Aside from the lack of solid evidence, Monroe's struggle to carry a pregnancy to term has called such rumors into question.
If you gave her a choice between children and stardom, it would have been children. Without question.
Number 5. Jane Russell was paid more on Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Right. Jane Russell's witty performance in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes is truly underrated, but the 1953 musical comedy is best remembered for Monroe.
Why don't you answer your...
I'm busy.
Wow. Boy, oh boy.
Despite this, Monroe only received her standard contract fee of $500 weekly. Russell, who was more of a household name at the time, was paid $200,000, which Monroe revealed in her final interview. While Monroe technically wasn't the lead, she reminded the studio that she was the blonde, and it is Gentlemen Prefer Blondes.
There may come a time when a hard-boiled employer thinks you're awful nice, but get that ice or else no dice.
Some of the tabloids painted a feud between Monroe and Russell, but the two actually developed a friendship on set. Russell remembered Monroe being, quote, very shy and very sweet and far more intelligent than people gave her credit.
She was very sensitive and much brighter than people thought she was.
Likewise, Monroe said Russell was quite wonderful to her. Number 4. Charles Chaplin Jr. and Edward G. Robinson Jr. Wrong. Monroe's love life is a focal point of Blonde. While some of the relationships depicted have been well documented, others are straight up smoke and mirrors. The most notable example is Monroe's three-way relationship with Charles Chaplin Jr. and Edward G. Robinson Jr. It's been rumored that Monroe had an affair with Chaplin Jr., which supposedly ended with him catching her in bed with his younger brother, Sidney.
I think you're on the right track.
I must be. Your glasses are beginning to steam up.
Rumors have also romantically linked Monroe to Robinson Jr., but there isn't much backing this up.
Now think hard. Was there anything that would look incriminating in a photograph? Something you wouldn't want Mr. Esmond to see?
Why, no.
There's even less evidence suggesting that Monroe, Chaplin, and Robinson were ever a throuple, as Blonde portrays. Whether or not Monroe really was involved with these two, it's safe to say that they weren't all together at the same time.
Is this a private clam bake or can anybody join?
Yes, it's private. Please, go away.
Number 3. Joe DiMaggio was controlling. Right. History might remember Joe DiMaggio even more for his marriage to Monroe than for his 13-year stint as a New York Yankee.
I understood some things about him. We based our marriage on it. And I say something.
Although they initially seemed like the ideal celebrity couple, the relationship's contentious nature surfaced in time. As Blonde portrays, DiMaggio reportedly mistreated Monroe physically and mentally. Uncomfortable with Monroe being a sex symbol, DiMaggio wanted a housewife rather than a movie star.
You know I want them.
How, Marilyn?
Tell me how. How are you gonna be a mother and take care of them when you can't stop working?
You know who I was when you married me.
Monroe solidified her star status with the 7-year itch, which is most iconic for a certain white dress and well-timed subway breeze. Even before the film came out, thousands of spectators showed up to observe the highly publicized Subway Great shoot. Monroe's marriage to DiMaggio was already on the fritz, and this scene essentially ended things after only 9 months.
Joe DiMaggio couldn't deal with being married to the nation's pinup.
Number 2. That scene with Monroe and JFK. Wrong. The life of Marilyn Monroe has spawned an assortment of conspiracy theories, many of which involved President John F. Kennedy.
Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you.
Beyond Monroe publicly singing Happy Birthday, Mr. President to Kennedy, it's hard to get an exact read on their relationship. There are accounts suggesting that the two had an affair or at least sexual encounters.
So there were numerous tapes made on Marilyn and Jack at the beach house in the act of lovemaking.
Yet no records go into anything as graphic as what we see in Blonde. Taken to Kennedy's room, Monroe finds the topless president in bed and on the phone. With the Mercury Atlas 6 launch playing on the tube, Kennedy forces Monroe to, well, let's just say this likely contributed to the NC-17 rating. Even if the rumors about Monroe and Kennedy's affair are true, most describe it as consensual.
And went into the bedroom where there was another transmitter which picked up cuddly talk and taking off their clothes, the sex act in the bed.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Monroe's death. Right. The death of Marilyn Monroe has sparked much debate, but it's generally accepted that she died of a barbiturate overdose at her LA home.
Marilyn Monroe was dead. Marilyn the Myth was born.
The final act of Blonde centers on Monroe's descent into substance use disorder and loneliness, resulting in her premature demise at age 36. It's been speculated whether Monroe's death was the result of an accidental overdose or if she purposely took her life.
I can't face doing another scene with Marilyn Monroe.
Most lean towards the latter, although Blonde keeps it ambiguous as we see Monroe lifeless in bed. Some details are omitted, like how Eunice Murray, Monroe's housekeeper, stayed over that night and discovered her body early in the AM. For a film that bends much of the truth, though, the ending is faithful to Monroe's tragic fate.
I knew I belonged to the public and to the world, she once admitted, not because I was talented or even beautiful, but because I had never belonged to anything or anyone else.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from Ms. Mojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.